And we're live.
All right. Back after last week, sick as a dog. I have the sinus infection that was contagious.
Apparently, because I had something and I'm convinced it came from you.
Yeah, probably did. I keep hearing everybody tell me, oh, well, I just have a sinus infection. It's not contagious. However, everybody in my family seemed to have the same sinus infection.
I mean, there is some,
It
crud
has
going
jumped to
around.
my son's girlfriend. It was so, it's, it's a viral something.
I feel like that's, appropriate.
Yeah, I don't think it's COVID-esque, but it's, long before
No,
COVID, we
no,
had viruses. We had colds.
No pink eye coming
I
this
did
year?
not have pink eye.
That's probably not COVID.
It is probably.
That's
but
apparently
yeah, it's
the
been
newest.
nuts this year, and a lot of people are getting it. Whatever it is going around.
I don't know what it was. It's not like it knocked me out, but there's this random cough. And it wouldn't be, I'd be fine for hours. And then all of a sudden it kicked back in, and I'm like, I thought you were gone.
Yeah, I had that random cough, but I was, when I get that cough, I have polyps on my vocal cords, and so it stresses those out. I usually wind up, when I get a bad cough, at the doctor getting steroid shots, but this time I did not.
No steroid shots this time.
No, I just shut my mouth and moved
Tried.
on.
Yeah, I'd sucked down a bunch of the cough drops. That's what I did. That seemed to work best, so I have tried. I'm a Fruit Breezers guy. That is my preferred. But if we have one that's made by Vapor Rub, like Vicks Vapor Rub, that works wonders. But you gotta fight through to get the full effect of it. So that's by far the toughest one to take.
My wife is asking, how many mothers are we expecting this week? I've absolutely no idea.
For Mother's Day, a lot. Well, that is coming up. Senior Sunday, Mother's Day. This is the reminder for all the guys out there that have not taken your kids to get Mother's Day gifts. Do you get a Mother's Day gift for Cassie?
I get a Mother's Day gift from my kids to Cassie.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I don't give her a Mother's Day gift because she's not my mom.
I'm on the same boat. She's not my mom.
Yeah. So now I get my mom,
right,
a gift card to somewhere to go eat or something. I'm not a big gift giver. I'm not a big I am all for gift cards. I'm a gift card guy. I graduation gifts, everybody's you want to come to the party? I'm like, no, here's a gift card. Moving on. Christmas, I think all Christmases should be one big gift card. Give it to them. You're in and out in 10 minutes. But then I hear it's not personal.
I mean, I don't know if I would say it's not personal, but there is there's a value in watching your kids unwrap a gift.
Oh, yeah, there is.
So I feel like you don't get that when you give just gift cards. But I agree with you. I wish even in our wedding, my cousin did it. She had a gift card registry for her wedding.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, man, that is really smart.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. Yeah, I'm just not I'm just more of a... So I'll give my mom a gift card, and then what I'll probably do is wind up, because my wife doesn't actually watch this show. She always comes back Thursday and what have you been doing? I'm like, well, we had the podcast yesterday. She was like, I keep forgetting about that.
Yeah, Claire says the same thing. She'll go, what'd you do today? And I'm like, well, we had our podcast. And I go, oh, yeah, it's Wednesday.
So I'll say this. I'm going to get her a gift card as well, probably to some nail salon. But that's the extent of my Mother's Day. But and I get that for her from the kids.
Yeah, I make sure my kids get something for Claire. But I'm on your level and going, she's not my mom, so just like on Father's Day, I don't expect her to get me a gift. I expect my kids to get me something, maybe if they loved me, but...
If they loved me. Oh, that's funny.
So Rob's wondering if we're having Conecuh sausage on Sunday for Mother's Day.
No, because Mother's Day is not as cool as Father's Day. We like our Conecuh sausage, and... they are having muffins and strawberry lemonade and it's a bunch of girly crap.
The real question is, should I put cards in the men's bathroom? We did it one year, and they were gone within like 3 minutes.
Cards.
Like I bought Mother's Day cards and envelopes, and put
Oh,
a little
yeah.
sign that said, "Hey, in case you forgot."
In case you forgot, that's a really good idea.
And-
We did do that, didn't we?
And I bought like 10, thinking, that should be no, not everybody's, and they were gone in like 3 minutes.
Well, that's a great idea. I think maybe we should do
Maybe,
that.
maybe we should do that. Help,
So that
help,
way, when I
help
forget,
a brother
I
out
can grab one in the morning.
and go. Here you go.
Hey, Mom.
Hey, I forgot
should
to
be at
tell
church.
you.
I'm awful at that, dude. I just forget. I'm not a holiday guy. I think it's my mother-in-law's birthday today or tomorrow or something. Something popped
Is
up
it?
on my calendar.
On the 10th of May,
Yeah, and so I probably
Well,
need to
I
get her
mean,
something.
like
Maybe.
your in-laws.
Yeah.
That's
Are you
different.
required to get in-laws gifts? at
Well,
holidays?
I would even go as far as, are you required to remember your in-laws' birthdays?
I don't feel like I am.
I don't think you are.
I don't even remember my kids' birthdays.
I remember my kids, they're both in May, so I have to go, okay, which one's the 8th, which one's the 29th? Usually it's the year I'd struggle with.
I have one that's April the 2nd
Mhm.
because it's the day after April Fool's. And one of them's in January sometime. I think that's golden.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, one of
Think-
them feels
think-
like it should be later in the year.
I think Aspen's in November,
November probably. Dylan's
because
is,
Cassie's December.
I do remember hers because hers and my mom's are close along with our anniversary. But yeah, I'm awful
I mean,
at it.
do you remember your own
Are we
birthday?
still on? Mine
Yeah.
always glitches.
I don't know
off.
why yours does that.
It always
It's
does.
going perfectly fine.
See, there's Rob's comment too.
Yeah. See?
All right,
Definitely.
I'm
See?
back live.
It's something on your end of
It
life.
is user error.
So I do have something for you today. The question, I guess, is: would you rather do it as keep and cut, or would you prefer to do it as rank without knowing what's coming next?
I think I'd rather keep and cut.
Keep and
To
cut.
rank without knowing what's coming next was stressful for
Stressful.
my brain.
this one would be.
Well, I don't know what the topic is. So.
It's sitcoms.
Oh, sitcoms. Yeah, I'd still rather do keep and cut.
Keep and cut. All right. Well.
Sitcoms.
Yeah, I went through and found a bunch of sitcoms, and keep and cut. And you know what? I would like for you to rank them.
Okay, I can do that.
I have 18 here, but I figured we'd do your top 5, and then cut the rest. Or if you have like an automatic cut.
Okay.
I don't know. Keep 5, keep 10, however many you want to keep.
How many's on here?
I think I have 18. Wow. I added one. I know. I kept going through and went, oh yeah,
It's hard.
That was a good
It's
one.
hard.
That was a good one. And I went,
Oh, you've hit my era, man. I think this is going to be a lot like you last week
Yeah,
2
you're-
weeks ago with the
yeah.
video games when
Yeah,
you start seeing kind of the generational.
you're welcome.
Yeah, I appreciate that because some of these are some of the best sitcoms ever that y'all don't appreciate, and my wife definitely does.
Well,
Like I think I want to ask you something.
I know exactly what you're going to rank number 1.
Yeah, that one's easy, but
Yeah.
you would be shocked at number 2
At number 2
Yeah.
on that list,
on this list.
if I had to make a guess,
Mm-hmm.
MASH.
See, looky there,
Yeah.
it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna start.
I loved watching MASH. Like, I thought it was
I
fantastic.
thought it was a great show,
Great.
and it went forever.
When Radar came and told him that the general had died in the plane crash.
Oh yeah,
Man, terrible moment.
terrible moment. I went through 2 colonels. I went through
Yeah.
I still watch that show. It'll pop up on like TV Land, I
Sure.
think, but it'll just be a string if you're on there, and it's like the next 8 hours of nothing but
Of
back to back.
all
And
back
so
to back
I'll
to back
put
to
it
MASH.
on just as like a noise filler in my house.
Oh yeah, I get you, dude.
So
Like,
what
I'm
we
there-
have here is we have a list of sitcoms that Matt is asking me to keep and cut, and I will read them off quickly, and then we will go down the list. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Mhm.
Yo, this is a story all about
Yeah,
how
I'm
my
gonna say
life.
the Will Smith version, not the new one.
Oh yeah, nah, this is. I can still sing that song.
Oh yeah,
I do love me some Will Smith. Modern Family. Not really familiar with that one. The Simpsons cartoon sitcom. Friends.
longest running sitcom
Longest
on TV.
running
The
sitcom
Simpsons.
on TV. Friends, classic. I Love Lucy, used to watch. Seinfeld, the GOAT of all sitcoms, and I will go down swinging on that one. Frasier, that's in that same '90s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
right.
that's one I wouldn't have thought about. That's kind of a blast from the past. Golden Girls. Oh yeah, that's in '80s. Cheers, where everybody knows your name.
Everybody knows your name.
The Office. Big Bang Theory.
Mm-hmm.
Full House. Old one, not new.
Well,
one.
yeah, old
yeah,
one.
okay. Because my
Well,
daughter
that-
watches the new one.
The
so
new
I'm
one's
actually
Fuller House.
Fuller House. Gotcha. Boy Meets World.
Yep.
Andy Griffith. Leave It to Beaver. The Brady Bunch, Gilligan's Island, and MASH. You put a lot in here from my
I did.
era.
Well, when I looked up, top sitcoms, a lot of these were on. There's a few I added
Okay.
because I was like, I'm surprised. Like MASH was not on their top 30 list, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure they still have the record for most watched season finale or series finale.
Ah, I got you.
So how that one is not on their list, I was a little surprised.
Well, these are all great sitcoms, but I'm going to start with, I'll do two cuts, two keepers quick. I think that I can cut Modern Family.
Not one you've watched, huh?
I have not. I'm not even really familiar. Like, I'm familiar with the name of
It's
it.
a newer one. It's in the tens.
Yeah, like, I think a lot of people would like that one, but I just have not personally watched
My
it.
wife's a big fan of that one. She
Is
likes
she?
it.
Yeah.
She did.
And I'm cutting The Simpsons.
Wow.
I know. I'm in a quick cut
Man.
that I was never a Simpsons fan,
I'm surprised by that.
and I was a cartoon sitcom. Like, okay, this is all pre-Pastor days, but like Beavis and Butthead.
Oh, sure.
And South Park and all of those. So I'm familiar with that genre. The Simpsons I never got into for whatever
Oh
reason.
man, I used to watch The Simpsons like religiously.
Religiously.
But, yeah,
I think that
it would be a hard one for me to cut, but I went. It's been on for so long that it's lost some of its.
yeah, I mean, at
Aura.
some point you go, wow, what new material can you actually come up with?
Sure.
But yet they do.
They do.
They do. They keep
do.
right on great. And it's ranked. Like, they've obviously got a following
Oh yeah.
because they would have cut it after that. So, sitcoms. But I'm sitting here thinking like TV shows. I'm going like NCIS and all the long running ones, but those weren't sitcoms. The Simpsons
Right.
was a sitcom, and it is the longest running sitcom.
Yeah, longest running sitcom.
And I'm going to keep two of my goats. Seinfeld, number one.
Well, I was gonna say, how about you keep them and you can rank them after?
Oh, okay. I'm going to keep Seinfeld, and
Yeah.
I'm going to keep Friends.
Well, I kind of figured those two
Yeah.
would be the easy ones.
Well,
for you.
those are dead on in my 90s genre.
Yes,
where I'm
Rob.
stuck.
Andy Griffith is on there.
Yes, Andy Griffith is on here.
I made
just-
sure to add that to appease. I did not watch Andy Griffith growing up, but I
Can
knew.
you whistle the...
Yeah, well, if I can think about it, it would take me a minute, but
No, wait.
yeah.
Hold on.
Yep, there it is.
Yep. See, on this list, my mom... So when I say 70s and 80s, I remember, like, when I was in preschool, so 4 or 5, so that would have been 1979, 1980s.
Really aged yourself there.
I did.
Pre me
These
being
two-
born.
Pre you being born. That's sad.
You're welcome.
But Andy Griffith, so I Love Lucy, which you
Yep.
have on this list,
I do.
and Andy Griffith, you come on back to back at noon. I Love Lucy would come on at noon, and then
What channel?
it would be, I guess back then, I think it would be channel 6.
Ah,
It was
6
either
channels.
6, 13, or 3. But I think it was 6 because my mom, so she would watch that, I would watch that, then I would have to go take a nap at 1. And it's because, and she may kill me for putting this out there,
Oh, I know.
but The Young and the Restless
Yep,
came on at
coming out.
1, and General Hospital came on at 2. And my mom
and
would watch
Ye-
both of them.
Young and Restless, Young and the Restless, still going on.
It's still going on.
Still going on. I don't know about General Hospital.
That's, but yep. So I'm gonna keep Seinfeld and Friends. I'm gonna cut Boy Meets World.
What?
Again,
Oh
not
my
one I'm
gosh.
familiar with.
Bro,
I didn't
you just-
watch it.
you just hit me in the heart. That would have been probably my number. It would have been it would have been in the running for number one.
In the running for number
In
one.
the running for number one.
Now I'm gonna keep MASH. I already kind of established that. That was a big one for me. I'm pretty sure I watched all of them at least 3 times now. So like, I feel
All
like
of
I
MASH.
could quote.
Yeah, I feel like I have seen all of the MASH. Is there a character you want it to be, or who was your favorite? I loved Radar. He was my favorite.
You love Red. I liked. Was it Houlihan?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It got real serious there for a little while when one of them, he got then he got PTSD and all of that. That it took a serious turn there for a minute, but by and large, I liked the more the comedy of
sure.
it, and no, it wasn't Houlihan. That was Hot Lips.
That was
Houlihan.
Hot Lips.
It
That
was,
was- Not Hawkeye, but
no, not Hawkeye, but the other one, the curly-haired one.
mhm.
Why am I blanking? Oh well.
I'm blanking too.
I will say this. I'm assuming this is Mike Butts coming in, and he's got one that you don't have.
Well,
And Mike, I will
mean,
tell you this, and you will get this. I don't know that Matt will, but Elizabeth, I'm coming to you as I grab my heart attack. But that was all in a genre of. So there was.
Happy Days was actually not on the list either.
I'm shocked with that.
Which I
Happy
went-
Days was a huge one.
It was
'cause I
a
remember
huge
the
hit.
Fonz.
They had, it was probably a couple months ago, but we watched the one where he jumped the shark.
Oh yeah.
And I went,
Yep.
this is a classic scene the girls should watch. And
See,
they
Mike-
weren't nearly as excited about it.
Mike, we are not going to call Love Boat a sitcom, nor Trapper John, Miss Nancy. Well, those are great shows. But Matt's got a running of sitcoms, I guess. But as I'm looking at this, me and Mike
Love Boat.
Me and Mike got the Love Boat. Oh my gosh. That's a soap opera. It's like Dallas. Dallas rebranded now, but he's got Sanford and Son on there. And I remember Sanford and Son. I remember Good Times.
Mhm.
Dynamite.
Oh,
with
yeah.
JJ. And then I remember the Jeffersons.
Mhm.
And there was one, Archie Bunker.
Yep.
Like I remember those shows all in that. Like the '80s were really kind of
Well, that was
the
probably.
heyday of sitcoms.
I feel like that was your TGIF.
Yeah, it probably was.
Right, my TGIF, it was Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
Family Matters was big on
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Full House would have been.
So you're hitting the '90s.
Right, I would have been 90s.
Yeah, like I grew up
Different
with the
Strokes.
A-Team and the Hulk and
Oh, yeah.
all of that stuff in the '80s. But all right, back to the list. I've kept Seinfeld, Friends,
Cosby.
and MASH, and I've cut The Simpsons, Modern Family, and Boy Meets World.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cut. Oh gosh.
Hurting my heart. Man,
Yeah, I'm really
can't-
gonna hurt your
I
feelings
can't
here.
believe you cut Boy Meets World. It's
Uh,
obvious you've never watched it because it was probably the greatest one.
Woolbright, I used to say, we're not the Cosbys, but we're not allowed to say that anymore. And so I cannot condone the Cosby Show anymore. Although I watched it, I watched
Well,
Cheers.
sure.
I think Cheers is on here. Cheers is on this list. Night Court. That is a blast from the past. Did you ever watch Night Court?
Night Court was not.
It was a comedy based in the courtroom.
Sure.
And I do remember that one. Family Ties, that's kind of a goat one. And Michael J. Fox is what splashed him on the, God, we're dating ourselves. Back to this list. Friends, Seinfeld, MASH. Okay, I'm going to break your heart here. Into all my 90s and 2000s, I think it's 2000, I'm cutting Big Bang.
Yeah. I mean, it is good, but it's not.
I watched it,
I feel like it's a great background filler.
It is.
But it's not one that I went. Like some of those, I looked forward to the next week to watch.
yes,
You
yep,
know, I knew that Thursdays at 6,
yep.
we're on channel 21 or whatever it was.
Oh, I
But-
agree. You know one you don't have on here?
What's that? There's a lot that I do.
Yeah, I'm
Look,
shocked it didn't make
this,
your cut.
This list was hard to come up with because as I started going through, I Googled it and they gave me their top 30, and then I was like, oh man, they're missing this one, this one, this one, and then I look at my watch and I'm like, oh man, we start in 2 minutes.
Well, like all of these that they're even like, there's there's been so many great
Yeah.
sitcoms. Growing Pains,
Yeah.
Kirk Cameron.
Yeah.
But the one I'm thinking of, and the only reason is because it kind of reminds me of The Big Bang a little bit in a weird way, was Saved by the Bell.
Oh, sure. That would have been a good one.
Yeah,
to have
that
on
was
there.
one that I'm like, that was kind of, when you say facts of life, oh my gosh. When you say I
Living
would
color.
look forward to watching it, Saved
Yeah.
by the Bell was that.
That was your 90210.
90210 was
Would-
huge.
would
Luke
you-
Perry.
Would you have said that 90210 is a sitcom though? I don't
No,
know.
no, 90210 would have been like a more like a drama type show.
See, you think Luke Perry 90210? I think 8 Seconds.
Oh yeah,
Cowboy.
yeah,
getting
Cowboy,
that-
yeah. But Luke Perry, that's kind of where he made his name, was on that
Sure.
Shannon Daughtry and all
Mhm.
them. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
So I am going. So I've cut Big Bang. I am going to go back a little bit in time, and I'm going to keep Cheers. I
I kind of-
enjoyed Cheers.
I kind of figured that'd be one you would keep.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one. That was one that my parents would not let me watch. That I kind of had to bootleg.
Sure.
Because we weren't allowed. Because it was a bar, obviously, and I was Baptist. And but I'm also gonna keep an old school one, and I bet I could still quote. I loved this show. It was one of my favorite shows growing up, and that would be Gilligan's Island.
Did I could have
Yeah.
sworn I put it on there.
Yep, you put it on here. I'm
I was
gonna
like,
keep Gilligan's
That
Island.
one was not on the list, and I was like, it's got.
It's
I also
gotta be.
tried to think what, like, I put Modern Family on there because I was like, maybe Cassie
Yeah,
watches it,
Cassie would have watched it.
but I don't know if Scott would have ever seen it.
Yeah, I'm more like Gilligan,
Oh yeah,
the skipper too, the millionaire and his wife, and then
So,
the age old.
Hun-
Never mind, I'm
Hunter
not gonna
bringing
answer
up Seventh Heaven, man. I watched
Oh, wow.
all of Seventh Heaven.
that. Oh wow.
We actually just rewatched the entire series. Claire and I did.
Well, it's like there was Seventh Heaven, Melrose Place, I just, as I'm going down memory lane, there's so many shows I've forgotten that I used to
Beverly
watch.
Hillbillies. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we watched that one all the time. Beverly Hillbillies and Hee Haw.
Oh yeah.
I think my parents still watch Hee Haw. They actually have it recorded, so I think it still comes on like TV Land or something.
Do they have it on VHS or?
They still have VHSs, but I will say this: I was over at their house one day watching Hee Haw, and a lot like some of those shows that you didn't realize back in the day because you were
Oh,
too
sure.
young to notice. But Hee Haw was scandalous for its day.
Oh,
It is
sure.
so inappropriate. It's not even.
Did you ever watch the Red Green Show
No.
where he like fixes things? I mean, that was hilarious. See, like one I didn't put on there, Home Improvement.
Tim the Tool Man Taylor. That's what I'm like.
Yep.
So there's some that aren't on here that are classics. But on this list, I've got 5. I've cut 4. I'm gonna cut the Golden Girls. Watched it. Never a big like. I mean,
I was
it's-
never. I thought it was all right, but yeah, like
Yeah,
you,
I'm like-
I went. It wasn't one I'm looking forward to.
And another one I watched a little bit because it came on after something else I watched. It was always just kind of that I left it on was Frasier. I'm gonna cut Frasier.
Yeah, see, it was another one that I watched.
Yeah.
Like you, it just came on after whatever.
It was like whatever came on at 8, Frasier came on at 9.
and it had a Cheers feel to it.
Yeah, it did. It was that spinoff. It was one of the first spinoffs I remember because Kelsey Grammer was in Cheers.
Yep.
And so, so I got to keep one now. I'm gonna keep Andy Griffith. I cannot cut Andy Griffith. I feel like that would be sacrilegious. Like,
You would. I feel like hurt a lot of feelings.
I
at,
would.
People within our church, and how much, since I have moved here to Alabama, the amount of Andy Griffith I have watched has
Well, you know-
increased like tenfold.
Lynn in our office, who works on our staff, she threw Patrick a
Yep.
birthday party, and it was all Andy
All
Griffith
Andy Griffith,
theme.
yep.
Yeah.
Every time I go to the barber shop, you know what's on? Andy Griffith.
Yeah. So I've kept 6. I've kept Seinfeld, Friends, Cheers, Andy Griffith, Gilligan's Island, and MASH. I have cut Modern Family, The Simpsons,
Yeah, we can
Frasier,
tell
Golden
you're
Girl,
old.
Big Bang, and Boy Meets World.
Yeah, you're old.
Yeah, I am. Which I'm going to keep. This next one, this is a story all about how my life turned flip upside down. Will Smith, No Slap Day,
Yeah, this is pre
pre.
when he was a rapper, not an actor.
Yeah, this is even pre, Independence Day.
Oh yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do with you next. Is greatest movies of all time.
Oh gosh.
That'll be so difficult. But I'm gonna
That'll
keep
be
Fresh
really
Prince,
difficult.
and I'm gonna cut. Oh man, I watched it so much, and I bet I could still remember most of the episodes. But I'm gonna cut the Brady Bunch.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not surprised. The Brady Bunch was okay to me.
Again, a filler show.
Yeah.
I watched them all,
Yep.
and it was good. And I remember the little Jeopardy tic-tac-toe boards and, blended family, kind of scandalous
Yep.
in its day. But
Yep.
they, David, the office is on here. I have not gotten there yet. It is
Yep.
still on that. It's kind of one of mine hanging in the balance there. It's Seinfeld-esque, but I never got fully into it, but I can. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've kept 7. I've cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I will.
It's coming down to some choices.
It is. It is. I feel like I'm going to cut. Full House. Yeah, I watched it.
Yep.
And I'm going to keep I Love Lucy. Fred and Ethel, Stomping the Grapes. I'm going to cut.
See, I was never big into I Love Lucy. I tried to get into it and just never did.
Just never got into it. It was just one of those that was on when I was home at lunch, so I think I always just kind of watched it. Rodney is calling me, and I'm going to.
I bet he knows lots about Andy Griffith.
Everything in me wants to answer it online, but
You're afraid of what he might say. Well, live caller coming in.
I have a live caller. Rodney Cannell is live on Back Row Pastors podcast on my computer. I was going to send it to voicemail, Rodney, but we have a glaring question for you. Okay. All right. Matt has given me a list. We do every week a thing called Keep Cut, and Matt has given me a list of sitcoms. And I want to know which one you think is the GOAT of sitcoms. Would it be Andy Griffith, I Love Lucy, Seinfeld, MASH, or Gilligan's Island? I'm going in your era. You're about as old as I am.
Yeah. Okay.
You tell me your top 2 sitcoms of all time.
They're all hitting home. My great-grandfather loved I Love Lucy, watched it every day. So I'm partial to that one, even though it wasn't my favorite. But it is a great one. MASH, never on my radar a whole lot. But Andy Griffith is not only the greatest of all time for me, it is the greatest of all time, period. It transcends every generation. I've got 7 and 8-year-olds that love it, that watch it and think it's great, all the way to however old. Even Matt Riedel would like it.
Well, Matt Riedel's laughing at you right now on our podcast because he was like, I bet Rodney would love Andy Griffith. Did you like
Absolutely.
Did you like the color version, like when they went from black and white to color?
No.
See, I didn't either. That's when I quit.
No.
That's
No,
about the
it's
time I
just
quit.
like- Yeah, I mean the storylines are all still good, but the actual production, I just like the black and white better.
Did you watch Gomer Pyle? That was kind of a spin-off of Andy
I
Griffith.
did.
Yeah.
I did. I liked him in the Andy Griffith Show, but not on his own.
Okay, so on the Andy Griffith Show alone, David Woolbright is chiming in on our chat. He says Barney Fife is the greatest character of all time. Who is the greatest character on Andy
Barney
Griffith?
Fife. Barney. The show, Andy is great, but the show is not good without Barney Fife.
You are absolutely correct with that. Barney Fife made the show and he made it a comedy. Andy made it
And
homeliness.
I mean, right, and Andy gave good morals, and he gave good ways of handling situations differently than you think. But Barney was what made you just stay in tune. Barney and Otis, everybody loves the
Everybody loves Otis. Everybody loves Otis.
Yeah.
And then, if you're a kid, you like Opie, I guess. But
And classic famous words of Andy and Barney. when Aunt B made the pickles. They said, learn to like them. And that's what we have to do in life a lot of times, just learn to like it.
Learn to like it. Great words from Andy Griffith via Rodney Cannell. Rodney, I'll call you back after the podcast, and thanks for your
Have
insight.
a great day.
You too, buddy.
Bye.
There you go. See, we have just opened the door.
Yeah, I feel like you really have.
Now you're like, who's going to call?
Who's going to call next?
Well, some of the greatest shows and podcasts have call-in shows.
I mean,
that's something we might ought to look into.
We have talked about. It's the hardest thing is trying. You went so loud and trying to get him, and
we'd have to figure out a way to make it go through the.
We have talked about having a guest in, and I have toyed around with some different features within that, so we could go. They could be in the room with us, but it's a different camera angle and things, and so it could be on the horizon if we wanted it.
Well, one of the great talk show hosts of all time, Rush Limbaugh, used to do open
sure.
line Friday,
Oh, sure.
where anybody could call in, but we all know it had to go through
Well, yeah.
Snurdly.
They have a producer. And,
Yeah, so he would.
Right now, I'm your producer, and I can't screen calls with you. So
And some of the calls would be random, but
yeah, I imagine that to be true.
so I'm down to one keep, one cut, and I've got The Office, and I've got Leave It to Beaver, and everything in me knows that The Office was the better and the more popular of the shows.
Ooh, I feel controversy coming.
Leave It to Beaver was 70s, 80s, kind of Mr. Rogers-y,
Yep.
Dad went to work, Mom stayed home, Golly Wally, G-Beef. See, I still remember all of it. My generation would definitely say Leave It to Beaver, but as far as sitcoms go, I'm probably going to cut Leave It to Beaver.
Ooh.
I know, and I'm going to keep The Office. And you told me to rank them, and I'm ranking the ones I kept.
I think if you could rank the ones you kept, what did you keep?
I kept Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Friends, I Love Lucy, Seinfeld, Cheers, The Office, Andy Griffith, Gilligan's Island, and MASH. You can definitely tell I was in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. You feel like you could rank them backwards?
Yeah, ranking them backwards, I would rank The Office as last on my list.
Yeah.
And then I would rank I Love Lucy before that.
Wow.
So that's 6.
See,
7.
I was a big fan of The Office, but it wasn't until the series was over that I became a fan of The Office.
I would rank Gilligan's Island probably 5. I would rank Andy Griffith 4. I would rank.
I'm glad you at least got because I didn't technically say the Andy Griffith Show.
Yeah.
But I assumed you would know.
When you say Andy Griffith, that's.
I don't feel like people think about actual actor Andy Griffith.
So going backwards, before Andy, I would put Fresh Prince, Bel-Air. I just loved that show. It still makes me laugh. And then I would go Cheers before that. And then I would go.
They filmed Jazz getting thrown out only one time. And so you would know if he was going to get thrown out the door because he wore the same outfit every time they did it.
Oh, yeah.
So they only had to film it one time.
One time.
Yep.
That's interesting. So here is, well, David, you are correct. Dukes of Hazzard is when I would get off the bus, running, because it started at 3, and my bus dropped me off at 3:05. And so I would run in and turn the TV on and watch the Dukes of Hazzard. I was a huge Dukes of Hazzard fan. And the Waltons, I don't know if that's a sitcom.
The one I would come home for, it came on at 4:30. So even if I was at my friend's or if I was at home at 4:30, I was watching Power Rangers.
Oh, Power Rangers, yeah. Well, I mean, in that world, you had Ninja Turtles, but I don't feel like any of those are really sitcoms.
They were. I mean, those were like.
I don't think the Waltons were. I don't think Dukes of Hazzard were. Anything that lasted longer than 30 minutes was not really a sitcom.
Sure.
Because that became a show.
Well,
Dukes of Hazzard was always an hour-long show.
Well, and I guess I didn't look up what qualifies you as a sitcom, but I don't know.
Well, I've got my top 9 for you. Number 1, Seinfeld. 2, Friends. 3, MASH. 4, Cheers. 5, Fresh Prince. 6, Andy Griffith. 7, Gilligan. 8, I Love Lucy. And coming in at last by a hair is The Office.
The Office. I'm surprised. I didn't think you were a big Office fan.
I wasn't, but it's again one of those that I was like, I liked. But
Sure.
between that and Leave It to Beaver, I watched Leave It to Beaver.
Yeah.
But now, if you'd put like some of these that were on here, you know, you start getting into, because I watched Sanford and Son and I watched stuff like that. Those would have all ranked over Office.
Sure.
But again, I am a huge 90s Seinfeld Friends. Still watch them, as a matter of fact, when they're on. And MASH, same way. All the rest of them I don't really watch anymore. Even when they're on, I just kind of
Glaze over.
yeah,
them.
glaze over them. But
You-
I will
you've
still
seen 'em.
watch. Cassie makes fun of me because I still laugh at Seinfeld.
Sure.
And I still laugh at Friends. As a matter of fact, my kids wanted to watch Friends. And I let them watch it if I was watching it with them. And with my kids in there, I didn't realize
How much?
how inappropriate Friends
Oh, yeah.
was. And I read an article once that said the amount of sexual innuendos, it gave the number of every episode.
Oh, sure.
And I was like, well, as I'm watching it with my kids, I'm like, oh my
You,
gosh.
you get the clicker out and you're like, there's one. There's
Yeah.
two.
Oh
there's,
man, it
and
was
you,
bad. Aspen wanted to watch it. I'm like, yeah, no, no, you're not ready for that yet.
No.
Dylan watched it all, and Seinfeld to me was always appropriate and
See,
literally a show about nothing.
I feel like I tried to watch Seinfeld. You know, there's a lot of sitcoms that I have tried to watch because, you know, people love them.
Mm-hmm.
Parks and Rec. People
Oh
love
yeah,
Parks and Rec.
I didn't think about that one.
But
Never got into it.
I
but
was
that's a
like,
big one.
I tried, couldn't get into it. Seinfeld's one of those for me. Tried.
Well, see, that was the big bang for me. I just never
Right.
really got into it. I never really got into The Office. I watched it, and The Office was kind of the next Seinfeld.
Sure.
I feel like they're one in the same like genre. Friends was a little more story based,
Yeah.
but a sitcom nonetheless.
Well, I feel like with Friends, you wanted to get to know the characters.
Yeah. Who's your
And-
favorite Friends character?
Mine?
There's one
I
for the
mean-
audience. Who is your favorite? Who's the best and the worst Friends character?
Oh, well, Chandler's the best.
Chandler Bing.
Chandler being the worst, and I couldn't stand Phoebe.
You don't like Smelly Cat?
I mean, like, I just couldn't. Watching her run and be who she. I mean, I feel like she played the character well,
Yeah.
but I went, Phoebe would not be a friend of mine. Or if she was, she'd be the one that I'd go, hey, do we have to invite her?
Yeah,
Like-
yeah. I'm not a big Phoebe fan, but I'll tell you the one that just really annoyed me a lot was Ross because he was
Oh,
always
sure.
like, oh, poor Ross, and da 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 da. I'm like, dude, date her or don't. Move on.
He's got the Eeyore.
He does.
I
got
mean,
the-
that's the real question you should ask. Were they or were they not on a break?
That is great. That is
mean-
great. I picked up my wife back in the day with Joey. How you doing?
How you doing?
Yeah, I did, and she looked at me dumb, and I'm like, we
You're
can't
like,
be
"All
friends.
right,
We
well."
can't date if you don't understand friends. But she was only allowed to watch Bible Man cartoons. So she didn't watch any of the shows I watched.
some
so.
Superbook.
Yeah, and then I'll sit there and watch them now and laugh, and she's like, "This is stupid," and I'm like, "But it's awesome. I like shows I don't have to think too much on."
Yeah,
So
agreed with that.
I'm actually on my message this week. We're talking about because I'm talking about epic. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego
Yep.
is an epic story, and I'm talking about how every movie, like, what are the epic lines of movies?
Oh.
Were you in the blockbuster days?
Oh, yeah.
And I've
Man,
got
that
a
was-
few that are on here
that
that
was-
I know where.
Like my favorite. That was what our family did.
Now, you didn't just go in and grab a movie. You had to
Oh, no.
peruse, correct?
We were gold members.
Gold members.
And so, like, you know, they had the outside track, which was all the new movies, and the inside track
Oh,
was
yeah.
like all the classics.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we would rent like 5 new ones, and then we got 2 classics for free. And so we would go through and, oh yeah, man, loved. Wish Blockbuster was still around.
Blockbuster was. I came across, man, this is probably 4 years ago. I was cleaning out some old boxes and a Blockbuster card, still laminated,
Oh, nice.
was in there. And I don't know, I didn't throw it away. I laughed and was like, I need to keep this, but I cannot tell. It was right before we moved here. That's where I found it. Is it was in an attic box that had a bunch of old high school crap in it.
Well, I mean, you could go to the knockoff Hollywood Video.
And
But
see,
it wasn't
no,
as
no,
great. No.
No,
But no.
they tried. It's like you know.
Nancy out here putting her foot down, saying they were on a break.
That is one of the greatest debates of sitcom world, or who would you date,
Yeah.
Ginger or Mary Ann?
Oh, yeah.
You know, there were always those kind of. But were they or were they not?
Were
on
they or were
break?
they not on a break?
And I learned how to move a couch from Friends.
Pivot!
I mean, it's got some of the greatest iconic lines. To which, to me, so does Seinfeld. But you know, you see some of these T-shirts, like I see Dunder Mifflin and all
Yep.
that stuff. You know, sitcoms back in those days. Well,
Full Metal
I do feel like what?
David. I came home in the 4th grade, and my parents had bought a VCR in the first movies they rented. Full Metal Jacket and
Oh,
Popeye. Wow.
That is a
Yeah.
genre
Woo.
discrepancy there. That's
Yeah.
one end of the extreme to the other.
That's one for the kids and one for the parents.
You know, I
For
think
sure.
I think we could have a keep cut. I can't decide with you next if I'm going to do greatest cartoons of all time
Oh,
or
man.
greatest movies.
Well, greatest cartoons we would not see eye to eye on.
Yeah, probably not. Because
Because-
you watch cartoons that weren't real cartoons. I grew up in the real cartoon era.
That weren't real cartoons.
Yeah, like real cartoons are Looney Tunes.
Oh,
You know, with the Foghorn Leghorn
Sure, yeah.
and Bugs Bunny.
they had some good stuff.
And then the Smurfs.
Yeah, see, I never watched the Smurfs.
So you never watched the Smurfs. I watched the Smurfs. There was a brief time there that I couldn't watch the Smurfs because the Baptist boycotted them because of the Gargamel and Azrael or something. But I remember the Super Friends, which most people don't remember, but that's kind of the Justice League.
Oh, yeah.
How that all originally started was the 70s. And but yeah, the Chipmunks, Alvin, Simon Theodore. Like I remember some old ones, but I never really
Yeah,
watched.
See, that was not what I watched.
See, I jumped literally from like the Smurfs to Dora and Peppa Pig. Because that was kind
That's
of the
what-
next time I watched cartoons was, you know, having kids. So I missed everything in between.
Like, my favorite cartoon growing up would have been X-Men.
Oh, yeah. I could see that. I could see that. I watched He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I saw a thing the other day, and it was the A-Team.
Yeah.
You remember? Because I was looking
sure.
up at getting Mr. T to come down for Coffee House.
I mean, if he could come down in the van, that would be
Do
a
you
great
feel like
picture
anybody
opportunity.
would know him, though?
I
know our
don't.
era
Well,
would-
see, do you look at Mr. T and do you think A-Team or do you think Clubber Lang?
See, that's where I told, because my mom was like, would anybody know who he is? And I'm like, they wouldn't know A-Team the way I do, but everybody
Right.
here would be like, oh, the guy off of Rocky.
Right. Rocky 2.
But I do feel like those are his
Three.
only two.
No, Rocky-
There's three. Yeah,
no,
there's three.
no.
Because he got
One.
beat by Clubber Lang, because Apollo was one and
It was 2.
Clubber
No.
Lang.
No, 2. It was Clubber Lang. 3 wasn't. No, you're right. 3.
'Cause
Yeah,
one
1
he
and
lost
2
to
were Apollo. 3
he
was
beat
Clubber
Apollo.
Lang.
3
4 was
Clubber.
Russia.
Yeah.
5 was Tommy Gunn.
Yeah, and then after that it's not.
And then it's no, there were some good ones. 6 he fought was just Rocky Balboa,
Yeah, Rocky Balboa.
and then where he fought the champ came back from retirement. 7. There's another one.
I
7.
feel like they should have stopped at 4. You can't beat Rocky 4. One of the greatest movies of all time,
by far,
by far.
by
Yeah.
far makes you swell in American pride.
It does. That might be one of the most patriotic movies nobody would ever call a patriotic movie. That
Absolutely.
everybody wanted to beat the Ruskies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think I think I'll do one next week for you, keep cut. But it'll be cartoons or movies. I haven't decided. Probably movies. But I was doing the thing on the movies because Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were talking about even if that
Sure.
that was a defining line in the saga, and they were. I was going through like all of these greatest movie lines of all time, and so I was going back to because I googled, I googled you grew up in the '80s, if kind of stuff, talking about how the culture you know, everybody's like, oh, this is the worst culture we've ever had, but Babylon had just
yeah.
about, anyway, it's just a direction I'm going at the beginning. But I started thinking Blockbuster card.
Oh yeah.
So as I'm looking up the 80s, it says you had a Blockbuster card. And I was like, oh, man, then I got to
In the 90s, we had a Blockbuster card.
When did that go out? Was it early 90s?
2008 or something.
Really? They were around that long?
Yeah, I think there's one left in like Alaska or something.
I bet if they hadn't gone bankrupt, I bet I still have a late fee.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Because I think that's why I quit going, because I had a late fee and I couldn't afford to pay the late fee. So you can't.
Blockbuster was really great when Netflix was just DVD, like mail DVDs. Blockbuster had an even better service. Same thing as Netflix, like you signed up on your list and they would send you the movie.
Oh yeah.
But you could return it in store and then get a movie right there and then take that movie back and then they would send it out to your next mailer.
That reminds me of those CD or DVD subscriptions that you could buy. That they
the penny ones or whatever. Yeah.
It's like you get 7 free, and then it reminds me of that the Red Box. Really great marketing, and they always host you.
Still around.
Because you could take a Red Box and you know, for $1, but then you'd be like, oh, it's only $1. I can wait a day or two, and before long you bought the thing at $24.99.
Yep.
You bought a used movie.
You bought a used movie that you didn't really want to watch, that you got because the movie you wanted was already gone, so you figured, oh, I'm here anyways.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just got me thinking, you know, looking at stuff like this, I started going down because, you know, I was like, Blockbuster, if you grew up in the 80s, and then I started looking at iconic movie lines and some of the movies I had forgotten. This list right here on sitcoms, and even the ones that people are talking about.
Man, you want to talk about
down the road.
Audience participation. You should put a movie line out without the movie and see if the audience knows.
Oh, that's
or
a good idea.
I guess the congregation knows.
I will. I'll say a movie line.
And then
like I've got one of the greatest movie lines that's going to tie in with my sermon.
Or maybe fill in the blank movie
Fill
line.
in the blank movie, yeah. I like that.
I pity the...
I pity the fool, fill in the blank movie. The one that I have that ties into my sermon is actually an iconic, and I don't mind saying it because it's, but you know, think
what's
of
the
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Yeah, what's the movie?
It would be, it has Tom Cruise in it.
Okay.
Has Tom Cruise in it. I think it would have been.
That narrows it down a whole ton.
Well, you know, it was a little bit later movie, so it wasn't in his, you know, cocktail days.
Show me the money.
No, dang. It wasn't a Jerry Maguire one, but I could use that one the next tithing message. Absolutely, it was not a Jerry Maguire. It was not a. It wasn't as old as Top Gun and those, but it was kind of a. I'll give you. He had an iconic '90s co-star. That was married to Bruce Willis.
Iconic 90s co-star married to Bruce Willis.
Mm-hmm. She played in G.I. Jane.
Demi Moore. It would have been... I can tell you what the line is. Yep.
Handle the truth.
Yes.
It would have been when he was in the Navy and he was an attorney.
Yep.
And A Few Good Men.
Yes.
Yep. So that is my iconic movie that's going to tie into my message, which will be a lot better than saying Timmy last week from the stage. And the amount of people that laughed, I was like, I don't know why that came out of my mouth.
Is it one of those you went...
Yeah, I was like, oh.
Can't grab that one back.
You know, it is what it is. And but yeah.
I mean, we had a lot of issues, so...
My mind, I will say this. I feel like I'm pretty unflappable. Like, things go on all the time. Most people don't see. Screens go out. You see people moving. You see an issue happen. You see security go, you know.
Sure.
I see a lot of things people don't see. And, I mean, dude, there was a fist fight at our old church. And I just kept right on going. It was two teens were fighting, two brothers fighting. Grandma jerked them up by their ears and drug them out. And, But I remember preaching and just hearing this, and I'm like, somebody just got hit. And I talked and turned, and I mean, they were going at it. They were getting it, dude. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a fist fight going on in the sanctuary. But you know, that was early days of.
Oh, sure.
You want to talk about rough and tumble church? That was.
Yeah, we probably
entertaining.
still only had the burlap up, not actual
The
walls.
burlap cathedral.
Yep.
We hung petromat that goes under because we couldn't afford walls.
Yep.
And we cut doors out. That was my favorite
Yes.
part. We took scissors and cut doors out.
Yes.
And then we built walls with no lights. So it was really dark. You remember that? You
Oh,
get
yeah.
the light that would come in just over the wall. But
Oh,
yeah, that's when you're Poe.
I just remember seeing the reflection of Fazoli's when we were on the other side. And
Fazoli's. You know, it's you want to talk about iconic restaurants. I saw somebody on Facebook the other day that said, name a restaurant that no longer exists that you love to go to. And I was like, does Fazoli's even exist? Because that was one I would say.
it does.
It was a poor college man.
Yeah, $3.99. You could get lasagna, bread, and a piece
spaghetti.
of
You
piece
could
of
get
pizza,
spaghetti, lasagna, and a
piece of pizza.
piece of pizza
Yep.
and a breadstick.
Yep.
They're breadsticks. I could just sit there.
Oh, yeah.
And I
Oh yeah.
I believe that's half the reason I'm fat now is I ate so many Fazoli's breadsticks.
Well, it was always there.
Yeah, and it was you walk out the door and there it was. But yeah, I was sitting there going through these movies and going, man, how times have changed. Because talking about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, I'm like looking at culture. And,
Sure.
you know, it's easy to sit here and scream we're in the worst culture ever because, I mean, let's be real, there's dudes, you know, playing
Well.
on women's sports and going into women's bathrooms. And we got a border that's about to get flooded. And, I mean, sky's falling, Ukraine war, you know, everybody's like, oh, my gosh, it's the worst it's ever been. It's really not.
No.
I mean, I think those, you know, who went through COVID, it'll mark this generation.
Sure.
But so did the plague, and so did, you know, all of those different times. But
World War II marked a generation.
World War II marked a huge generation. And if we're not careful, we're going to be in World War III
Sure.
because history repeats itself. But studying cultural issues, I started looking because I'm still on Big C Church. I'll be honest, this week there was so much chaos going. I still wasn't really ready to get away from Big C Church because I enjoyed that one. It's a passion of mine, so I had to flip my brain and get into miracle mode, and everything was going on, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!" So fairly unflappable. But this past week, it was at my limit of.
There were some issues.
Stacy follows me on screen, and she was like, "I had no idea where you were at." I was like, "Me either," because
Yep.
there was so much movement.
I don't.
was like,
I don't miss those days
No.
of going. I've lost him. I don't know where he is.
That's right. Yeah, but it's like I have no idea. Well, my notes are always just kind of a. I mean, we've had screens go out and power go out. I can preach any message without the notes because I have a backup on my iPad, and then I have backup on the paper because I'm like, we've had the entire power go out and
Oh, yeah.
internet go out, and so I always have the backup to the backup. But yeah, this Sunday was a train wreck.
It was.
The AC wasn't working
Yeah,
right.
there
The
was
internet went down.
Well, it wasn't, our internet was chugging great, but, we just came across the unfortunate side of you losing a mic isn't that you can speak up. It's that those who are watching online can't hear.
Can't hear you. And that's what I was thinking about. I was like, man, some of them were like, we watched the whole thing waiting on it to come back on. And I'm like, you watched a silent video.
We tried really hard to get it all to come. I mean, we have figured out what the issue is now.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, it should be on our list to troubleshoot next time earlier. But, first thing we always think about is batteries. And the amount of people who are like, he needs batteries. I'm like, no, he doesn't.
It's because my batteries went out the week before.
And
But
you just
yeah,
go,
it
it's
didn't
not
work. And then
batteries.
when the handheld didn't work, I was like, we got a soundboard.
Yeah,
problem.
there's some issues, but we got it figured out. We
it's all
should
good.
be hunky dory.
There was a day
smooth
they used
sailing.
to do church without microphones.
That's true.
You
That's
know.
true.
Yeah, just looking at this cultural thing. So I got a question. You grew up in Texas. I'm going to ask you a
Yep.
Texas question.
Okay.
Your dad's from the San
South
Antonio
Texas,
area.
San Antonio area.
So you're more kind of west. Do you consider San Antonio West Texas
No,
or
it's
Central?
San Antonio is technically South Texas.
South Texas.
It's like the northest part of South Texas.
South Texas. Because I always wondered where College Station fit into that.
College
Kind of
Station would be like your central.
Central. Okay.
Yep.
So you grew up in South Texas. Obviously the
See, I did
news-
not. My dad did. See,
Your
I grew
dad-
up in Dallas,
But you were around South. You were
Yeah.
around San Antonio.
so we had a ranch down that way.
You had a ranch. That's what it was. So we are about to finish Title 42, the immigration policy for COVID. And there are thousands. Some are arguing there's 100,000 about to stream across the Texas border tomorrow. As somebody who grew up in South Texas, what do you think I guess my question would be, what is the biggest need? And how do you handle that as a Texan? As somebody who lives there, how do you handle all of the influx of, because this isn't the first time it's happened.
Well, sure. I mean, honestly, like living in Texas, I don't feel like I felt a ton of immigration issues.
Mm-hmm.
Like you saw it in schools, you know, you had friends who weren't, I guess they weren't Americans.
Sure.
You know, they didn't have their cards, they didn't have any of those information, but you had friends, and so it wasn't ever, you know, if you want to fix the biggest problem with immigration is that America's so great, people want to keep coming.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, as much as we complain about how
That's
America's
right.
awful, everybody wants to live here.
Everybody wants to be here. Well, people who don't want to be here don't ever actually move. But,
Correct.
you know,
Correct. If they get elected, I'm moving.
yeah, they never actually move. But as far as immigration issues, I mean, I don't know. You noticed a lot more Spanish speaking, but that's not here or there. It didn't ever bother me because everybody kind of knew just enough Spanish to communicate with each other.
Well, you'd walk into restaurants and they would have both on the menu
Absolutely.
board. You'd have English and you'd have Spanish. so
Absolutely.
it
Well,
just-
the good ones did, yeah.
Yeah, the good ones do.
Like the mom and pops, but I don't. When it comes to immigrant, like living in Texas, I never felt it. Like my mom felt it as a teacher because she knew which kids were immigrants and which weren't. You know, she had, I guess, that insider information, so she would see it. But I mean, it never affected our opinion of the person.
Gotcha.
We didn't ever get, you know, the bad side of immigration. I didn't ever see the gangs coming or any of that. So
You didn't have all the MS-13
right,
mess and
you
all
know,
that.
they all fortunately went to California and did those things, and so more often than not, when it came to immigration and illegal aliens, I went. They were probably my friends,
Mhm.
and I would have never been the wiser until they were just gone.
There one day, gone the next.
There you go, and you just went,
I think my first experience with illegal immigration was actually in Missouri.
sure.
I worked at a.
They don't want to stay in Texas. They want to get as far from that border as
Yeah.
you know where border patrol is really heavy? Texas.
Texas.
You know where it's not? Kansas.
Correct. Like,
Like-
nobody pays attention to it in Kansas.
No.
But I worked at one of my first job when I come off the streets in Branch, Missouri, was helping to build a golf course.
Yep.
And I remember there was a trailer that had 12 of them. They all lived, and they worked rotational. And you're right. So several of them were there one day. and
Gone the next. They
Gone
just
the
went.
next. And so it was always a weird. And the reason I ask this is I sit there, you know, coming off a Big C church, and talking about miracles and all that. I'm sitting there watching the border, and I don't care where anybody stands politically on it.
Sure.
I often question those who have, you know, you got to obey the rule of the law and nobody and da 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 da. But then at the end of the day, if your family was starving and there was no work,
100%.
you would do whatever it took to get
Whatever
somewhere where
it
you
took.
could provide, right? So I get both sides of it. I'm not disagreeing. I think the system's broken, but
100%.
I think there needs to be an easier way. I like back in the day, so when I was in the Army, if you wanted to become a citizen of the United States, you signed up for 6 years in the military and you were automatic citizen.
Sure.
I think it's brilliant.
Makes sense.
It makes sense. You've invested. You've given
You
to
know,
the
we
country.
had our best babysitter we ever had was working on getting her citizenship.
Oh wow.
And, I mean, she potty trained Paisley in like 2 days. I still haven't figured it out.
Just use them in him.
But, yeah, well, and her husband was here on a work visa. He was a professor at A&M.
I got you.
And she was working on her citizenship, and we would come in and she would look at us and she would go, "The Constitution is the law of the land." And I went, "Yes, you are correct." But
Correct.
she was the best babysitter. She's still friends with us on Facebook and is always impressed with how much Paisley has grown and all those things. And so, yeah, she was She was fantastic. Loved her.
Well, I was sitting there watching. I'm sitting there thinking about the Big C Church, and I'm talking, intermixing it with Miracles and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, how they got taken from their land into a foreign land and all this and all that mess ends tomorrow. And I'm sitting there going, because they're talking about the homeless camps that are down there, and I'm back to where is the church in all of this, regardless of what you think politically.
There's still people.
Can you imagine the target-rich environment to show
sure.
the love of Christ down there? Because you've got women and children. I mean, they've been on these journeys from Venezuela, dangerous journeys. They can't have much food. They don't travel with much because they're walking that far. And I sit there and I'm like, how cool would it be to have, for lack of a better description, a
Sure.
refugee camp?
If you want to talk about having a revival,
Oh, yeah.
you have to rent the local wave pool to baptize all the people.
Oh, it'd be amazing. And I'm like, I feel like the church has so many opportunities right now in a world gone mad,
Sure.
in a culture that's gone crazy, that we're missing a huge opportunity. And I think everybody's so dug into their politics that they have forgotten that in some of the worst times of the world, the church, from the plague to COVID, we shut the churches down. The plague, they stuck around, ran into it, and ministered to the people. So I just wonder if we wouldn't be better off with the church stepping back up.
So maybe there is a separation of church and state, and that the church should just do what we need to do.
Yeah, I think so. I think we should just do what we need to do, and the government can do what they need to do. And
We'll call it a day.
yeah, we'll call it a day. So, but we're out of time, and we'll be back next week.
Next week,
And we will have, I'm going to do keep cut
something.
movies.
Oof.
Movies to you. Greatest
I-
movies of all time. I have mine already. Number one movie of all time.
I can tell you what my number one would be right now.
What is it?
Shawshank Redemption.
That boggles my mind.
Really?
Mine would be Armageddon. Yeah. We'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
That's right.
All right.
Bye-bye.